Fun City Cast Austin. It's the Friday News Roundup. I'm here today with Hey Austin newsletter editor Kelsey Bradshaw and executive producer Eva Ruth Moravec to bring you a few news stories that caught our attention this week. We're going to talk about trouble at the Sims Foundation, why Dr. Phil was at the Texas Capitol, and the records that Austin voters are setting. We'd like to thank Tecovas, our exclusive launch sponsor. It's Friday, October 25th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hi, Ruth. Hi, Kelsey.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
So, okay. Lots of stuff happened this week. So off top, the Sims Foundation is pausing services while they try to fundraise and restructure. So from November 1st to January 31st, mental health services for musicians will be severely decreased and some will lose them altogether. So in case you don't know what the Sims Foundation is, if you're listening, the Sims Foundation provides mental health and substance use recovery services and support for musicians, music industry professionals, and their dependent family members. And it's named after Sims Ellison of the Austin band Pariah from the 90s.
It is not a good time to be losing mental health services.
It is not a good time to be losing mental health services.
No.
Just moments away from the election.
And the holidays. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Y'all, it's
not a good time.
It's bad. So here's some numbers. Over the past 30 years, the Sims Foundation has invested more than $50 million into mental health care services for more than 25,000 members of our music community. They do about $1 million annually. Despite the operating with an extremely small staff and the overhead, public and private funding support has consistently gone down year after year. And of course, because the world is being the world, the need for services has risen dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And the healthcare landscape is not really keeping up, in my opinion. So Sims is trying their best to make sure the clients are minimally affected, but the services are going from weekly to monthly for some, and others will have to be straight up just guided elsewhere. And musicians are kind of feeling like there was little to no warning, but I don't know. It feels like once again, musicians are weirdly sacrificing, but also still carrying the weight of tourism for the city.
Well, and that's got to be so scary.
Yeah.
Like if somebody told me, hey, FYI, next week for the next 3 months, you're not going to have your daily inhaler, your allergy medication, insert medication here. My therapist won't be available.
Exactly.
All the things that keep a person running. That's scary and horrible.
Yeah.
Y'all, my therapist told me, she gave me like a 4-month heads up. Like, hey, look here, my partner is pregnant. I'm about to go on maternity leave. And I was like, 4 months is not enough of a heads up. What are we going to do about my brain? And like every month she was like, all right, girl.
What's your plan?
What's your plan? Yeah. And like, so like, to your point, Kelsey, I can't even imagine. She was like, oh, hey, girl, look, turns out for the next 90 days, we're not going to be able to have your little sessions that keep you functioning in society.
And especially like we just said at the beginning, during these months of the year, November, December, January, forget the election. Those are always stressful months anyway. And then add the election.
Yeah.
It's a rough time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, tourists are flocking to town for Formula One. We just got done with ACL, UT football, all of which feature our musicians prominently. So like,
I know.
Y'all, why are we here again? Like, why do we keep finding ourselves back here? Do y'all think the city should be involved in like helping musicians with their mental health services?
I mean, with the amount that the city touts that we're the live music capital of the world.
Yeah.
How are we going to stay that way? We have musicians everywhere. I landed at the airport on Sunday. Musicians greeted me at the gate. Like they're everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And we already have all kinds of stories about how musicians and artists can't live here, right?
Right.
They live in Bastrop. They live in Kyle. They don't even live in Austin anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're losing this crucial thing.
There's no insurance system, right, for musicians, which is the really tricky part because people who have the luxury of a full-time job with benefits they can have some regularity in their health appointments and taking care of their needs. The city already has money that's supposed to be going to musicians and our artist community, and it doesn't seem like that's necessarily helping in the right way. So like, I guess that's why Sims exists, right? What percentage of their gig money can go to Sims so that they can keep being this safety net? Because if you don't give people the mental health care to just keep them, like you said, Nikki, going,
Right.
then the fall is so hard, you know, and then it becomes so much of a bigger problem.
That's the other thing. It's like, thank God for Ham, thank God for Sims, but these again are out. These are musicians doing it themselves. Like coming up with it and doing it themselves and being self-sufficient, like, and all that's great. That's awesome. And we do what we do, and that's how it has to be. But I think that, to your point, Kelsey, I feel like we're a broken record. If we are truly the live music capital of the world, like even if we thought of it as like a business thing, our musicians are our assets. They're our assets. Do you want to protect your assets or not?
Like, I'm just becoming more convinced the more we're chatting about this. Like, it is Austin's identity, and it's why people visit. It's why South by Southwest got so big. It's why ACL got so big.
Right.
Like, it is the foundation for so many things in Austin. And if we don't take care of those people, what is Austin?
You know, we're expanding the airport. You got all these people coming in. We had the busiest day ever on Monday. Who are they coming to see? What do you think they're coming to do?
The musicians in the airport.
Yeah, like what are we talking about? I feel like CityCast pretty soon is going to be like Austin Pay Your Musicians podcast, because we just like, it's like,
Yeah.
examples keep coming up. It keeps coming up where people are not showing up, right, for our musician community.
I just feel like, can you imagine if Lady Bird Lake had to raise money for itself?
Right.
You know, or like other, like
Or Barton Springs.
or Barton Springs had to have its own, it had to do it, the work itself.
Maintenance.
Like, yeah,
The pipe fixing.
you know?
Barton Springs shut down for 11 days because of a pipe, and people lost their minds.
Yep.
Yes.
If they were like, hey guys, we got to shut Barton Springs down because we can't raise no money.
Barton Springs is having a depressive episode and we can't do anything about it.
What if it's like Barton Springs Leaky Pipe Day and like all the musicians refuse to play?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine? Like,
Oh my God.
Yeah. A day in Austin without musicians.
Yeah.
wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah. I'm in. I say as a non-musician, I'm in.
Sims,
I wish
Ham,
that we could-
steal
I
this
wish that-
idea. Let's make it
wish we
happen.
could figure out a way for that to happen without them losing gig money.
True.
So somebody rich.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Underwrite it.
Well, and have some sort of, people can donate. That's how they can support the cause.
Yes.
We can have a donation page.
Are you enjoying this silence?
Yes. We can say to protest, donate $5.
Donate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Donate some money so that our musicians can take a day off. They are taking a day off. Donate some money.
Right.
Guys, are we starting a new organization? Are we quitting CityCast? What's happening?
No, no.
They give us a free day of music on Ham Day. The least that we can do is give them a free day without having to gig and still get paid.
We would be able to see the impact pretty starkly that day. But
I think so too. So
Leaky Pipe Day. Let's do it.
Leaky Pipe
Leaky
Day.
Pipe Day. You heard it here first.
Heard it here. And if y'all want to support, you should come out to the Moon Dance Music Festival at Far Out Lounge tomorrow, starting at noon, to benefit the Sims Foundation. 15 local bands, vendors, food trucks, live art, and more. So yeah, if you have the time, show up. Because, this when your musicians and your creatives need you, you come in clutch and you support them. Speaking of coming in clutch and supporting someone, Eva Ruth as a great example of how that can happen.
Oh, yes.
Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they're handmade, high quality, and stylish. And they're comfortable right outside of the box. Now, I know we buy everything online these days, but trust me, you have to get fitted for some boots at Tecovas. Now, whether you're like me, a newbie to boots, or you have a closet full of them, the folks at Tecovas will help you find your next favorite pair. So, grab a friend, head on over to the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of you that live just a little further north. With 3 locations in town, you have no excuses. So, that's tecovas.com. TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
I would just like it to be known that one of our editors said we have great transitions. So,
Okay. Yes. Coming in clutch this week for Robert Roberson, the Texas House. So specifically a few members of the Texas House. On Monday, there was this 10-hour hearing at the Texas Capitol over the case of a man named Robert Roberson. He's now 57, but he was convicted back in 2003 in the death of his 2-year-old daughter. And the murder conviction was based on shaken baby syndrome, which is something that has since been deemed as junk science. Some people don't even know that Texas still executes people. That's definitely still a thing. We have death row out in Huntsville, Texas, and it's where people serve their time until they get an execution date. And that had happened with Robert Roberson. He was supposed to be executed last week, and then lawmakers basically tried to do this crazy move. They wanted his case to be reheard, and so they subpoenaed him to come and testify before their committee at the Capitol. It was down to the last minute on, what was going to happen with this man's life. And then, so the Texas Supreme Court weighed in that night, and so the execution was put off. Anyway, it was dramatic. So all this culminated in this crazy hearing. Roberson was supposed to be coming in and testifying. He did not. They're still trying to work it out so that we hear from him in one way or another. But who did testify was like insane. It was it's like a real who's who, if you will.
When you messaged me this, I was like, what?
Oh my God, seriously.
I know. Y'all, Dr. Phil, the Dr. Phil from the Telly, he met with Roberson in prison. So, yes, Dr. Phil showed up at the Texas Capitol. It was madness. There were like 2 overflow rooms of people watching. There was also John Grisham, the author.
What was John Grisham doing there? I don't understand. John, what, like?
They're all weighing in on like whether this guy should get a new trial. It's crazy. There was a juror also. That was the best testimony in my opinion, was this juror who was on the jury at the time and convicted him and was like, would not have done that now if I knew this information. So aside from like the shaken baby being junk science, also Roberson now has been diagnosed with autism. And during his trial, he was like not very emotional about the death of his daughter.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And like and there's been other science has come out about like what this child, like other ailments that she had that likely were contributing to her death and not him. Yeah. So it's wild. Thanks for letting me talk about it. I think it's a really important case, and we're going to have to keep watching what happens. I think it's also wild that it happened like on the cusp of this election when a lot of people are, some of the judges involved, some of the Texas legislators involved are up for election. So how do you guys think that like a case like this reflects on the state? I mean, like Texas doing crazy shit is almost always a national news headline, but especially I feel like, yeah. What do y'all think about this case?
I think something that's super interesting about this is the way like society has changed since 2003, and like the way we look at things like this has changed, where like people are talking about how he's autistic and like saying he's disabled and like allowing space for these things and like treating him with kindness. But the thing that I don't understand about these cases is like the people who are so vehemently against retrying them. Like if we find out that there is junk science, right? Like that's like a really good reason to retry this and to look at it again and to save someone's life. And it's very hard for me to understand people who are just like, nope, sorry, it might be super clear that something was wrong, but he's convicted and that's the end. And like, he's going to be killed. And I have a really hard time with that. Like,
yeah, like that's what you want to hang your hat on is just
Yeah.
like making sure this happens.
yeah, that's the very confusing part to me. And like, I don't get that. Like if there's room to try again, why not? We have the time and the money. Like, let's do it.
First, also, this comes on the heels of like Marcellus Williams, who was executed just recently, I think in Missouri, because they would not try his case again, even though there's like now DNA evidence and we have so much more science now and so much more knowledge now than we did before. So like,
Yeah.
how many cases, that's what keeps me up at night. How many cases of like junk science, like DNA evidence gone wrong are keeping people incarcerated? There are only 27 states that still do the death penalty. And of course, Texas is one of them. Like, I'm just curious. I don't want it to get too heavy, but like, does this seem archaic to anybody? Does it, especially since you're talking about people like sometimes like what? So Robertson's been on death row for how long? Like, was this 23?
Almost 20 years, right?
More than 20 years.
More than 20 years.
If it's taken that long for y'all to put someone to death, if you've decided that this is what has to happen, this is their punishment, and it takes y'all 20 damn years
Yeah.
to get to dole out this punishment, do you know how science progresses in 20 years?
No.
So maybe what we should be doing instead is like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe let's take a pause on killing.
Great bumper sticker. Pause on killing.
Oh, it's so archaic. It is creepy. I mean, everything about the process. And like, yeah, 20 years on death row. So they tried to actually get him to like zoom in to the hearing.
Yeah.
And his lawyers were like, no,
No.
he has autism and spends almost every day alone and has for 20 plus years. Like, how do you think he'll do that? I mean, and to the point about science, Texas leads the nation with 363 exonerations in the last 30 years, according to the National Exoneration Registry. So, like, that means...
Maybe y'all ain't getting it right.
Yeah, that means that something was wrong and...
Perhaps.
I don't know.
What the fuck? Sorry. But like, are you serious? Maybe something's wrong. Maybe y'all ain't getting it right. And like, if they do retry the case, right? How do we know it? Like, it's like, because now there's celebrities involved.
Right.
Everybody's gotten involved. So how much influence is Dr. Phil,
Right.
his presence, going to have on whether or not this person gets a retrial? And then what does that say about the hundreds of others?
Right.
Yeah.
Hundreds of others that don't have a Dr. Phil to come down with his makeup.
Or a Kim Kardashian.
I was going to say, when is Kim going to show up?
Yeah.
This whole thing is just, it feels sad and it feels kind of gross that this man's life is just, our producer Rishi mentioned this, like his life is just at the whim of political crap. It's you know what I mean? Like they're volleying him back and forth, and that just makes me feel super gross.
And he could be actually just innocent the entire time is the other thing. Like, what if we just ruin this man's entire fucking life? And we're going to keep covering this. We'll be doing this more in a future episode because this story is not going away. Actually, after the hearing, Attorney General Ken Paxton pushed back on some of what the witnesses said. And then Governor Greg Abbott has since filed a brief with the Supreme Court saying that this House committee actually stepped out of line with their actions to save this man's life and that the power of clemency is vested only in the governor's office. It was very dramatic. So stay tuned.
And for so many people in Texas that say they're pro-life, how are you pro-life if you're also pro-killing people? Yeah, it's like, I don't know. The death penalty is stressful, and it makes me feel like there are people pulling the puppet strings. And you know what I like to do when I feel like someone else is making choices for me and I feel like I do not have power and I don't have autonomy? I like to vote.
That was good. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Crushing it today.
You're killing it right now. We are, well, yes, we are crushing
Us
it.
three
Yes.
are crushing it, and so is Travis County.
Yeah, that's
There
probably
it is. There it is.
We are well into early voting. And in the first few days of early voting, Texas are turning out at the polls in record numbers. Kelsey, I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, so I have stats for day one of early voting, which was on Monday. So more people in Travis County voted on the first day of early voting compared to the same day in the last three general elections. So on Monday, 46,646 people voted
Wow.
for our first day of early voting.
Hey.
And in comparison, I'm actually going to start with the most shocking number. In 2012, okay, back in the day,
A few years ago.
only 16,385 people voted on the first day of early voting, according to the Travis County clerk, which I think is wild. Like, that is quite a jump.
Yeah.
And I know that like our population has grown a ton since 2012, but it still just feels like
There's a frenzy.
there's a hunger to vote and people are actually out and doing it. And like even in 2016, the number shot up to 35,000, almost 36,000. And then in 2020, it was 35,873 on the first day. And those are just first day numbers. These are not, we're not done. Like we still have lots of early voting to go. And then election day. So hundreds of thousands of people are going to vote. But for the first day being almost 50,000 people,
Yeah.
Listen.
I'm so happy and proud of us. That's so awesome.
I must point out, I think this has to do with people's passion about this race and how big of a deal it is. Because if you think about it, in 2012, when the numbers were that low, it was Obama and Biden.
Right.
We were voting to keep them in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 5 lifetimes ago, it feels like.
Yeah, that was a lot of plot lines ago as well.
Jesus, I feel so old.
Right?
I feel like that woman from Titanic. It's been 87 years.
Literally, though. Well, and it feels like in 2012, everyone was just kind of like,
It's fine.
you know, it's fine. Everything's fine. Even if Romney wins, it's fine. And like
Right.
whatever. Every election since has been a little more dramatic.
Yeah.
Has been a little more intense. Has been a little more scary. Literally, whatever side of the aisle you're on, I feel like everyone has felt that way. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like what? So what? 1.7 million Texans have already voted.
Way to go, Texas.
So that's like nearing 10% of registered voters by day 2 of early voting.
hell yeah.
And overall, it says we have 18.62 million registered voters.
That's awesome.
I get so emotional about voting and it's just so cool. And I love going to vote and I like hate anyone who's like, meh, I'm not going to vote or I don't care about politics, blah, blah, blah. Like those people suck. You should go vote. Like so many people fought for your right to vote.
Seriously.
I could be on this soapbox for hours. Put me out there in the town square.
So have you voted?
Oh my God, no, I haven't. I'm so sorry.
Hear me out.
Oy.
I haven't either.
I'm going today.
Hear me out. To be honest, I'm having a hard time with like focusing and giving voting the kind of focus that I need to give it right now.
Yeah.
So tonight I will be sitting down with the League of Women Voters like guide so that I can do what I need to do tomorrow.
Nice.
But like I've had several people ask me, and I don't know if it's because of our episodes. I like to think that it is, but I've had several people ask me like, okay, so who am I voting for mayor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who do I need to vote for? And I'm like, baby, I cannot make that decision for you. And they're like, I've listened to the episodes. I still just don't know who I should vote for. And I'm like, well, you might want to figure that out soon. Figure it out soon. Because these numbers are not playing.
We at CityCast do not endorse.
Yeah.
You don't want to get stuck in an election day voting line.
No.
That's why I'm going today.
I'm going tomorrow.
But you can bring notes in.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
Nikki,
you can bring
that's
notes.
very smart. And there's a lot of stuff on the ballot that you haven't heard about, you know.
There's a lot on there.
Yeah.
It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot.
So prepare yourself.
I got a question. So are these numbers making y'all more nervous about the election, or is it making you more hopeful?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Okay.
Like I'm hopeful and I feel great that so many people are getting out there, but it also makes me nervous in that it just feels like everyone's like, I gotta go do that so that I can do, whatever outcome they want.
Yeah. I think I don't know if y'all feel this, but I just feel like I have this baseline, the stress baseline that's like a little higher than usual. It just feels a little like, I think frenzied is the right word.
Oh, that's good.
Kelsey, no, you said that word.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, good for me. Yes. Yes, correct.
But yeah, the frenzy is going to continue because today, actually, one of the candidates for president, Donald Trump, is going to be in town recording a podcast or a podcast interview with Joe Rogan.
Another completely non-controversial character.
Yeah, so and Kamala will be in Houston, I believe, at the same time. So it's just like we're still kind of, we're not one of the swing states, but we do still feel very relevant,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had an interview with KXAN politics reporter Ryan Chandler, and he thinks that Texas is purple. So I'm just saying we're not a swing state, but
Yeah.
Listen, I agree. Purple is
we purple. I think we're purple.
Yeah, every presidential election year, it's like, okay, what's happened in Texas in the past 4 years? We had so many people moving to Texas that really could skew how the state votes. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, it's anxious. I'm very anxious.
I'm anxious, but I am excited to see how Texas, like the entire state, will vote. Like, that's always really interesting to me. Like, what, like, super red county is going to flip or what super blue county is going to flip. And, I get really into that. So
I could go my entire lifetime without Donald Trump coming to Austin to talk to Joe Rogan. It just feels like the worst. Because if I thought for 1 minute that it was going to be like a truly political, listen, I want to have a conversation with you about
your plans,
about your plan and things that aren't just like the rantings of a lunatic, I'd be down with it.
Right.
And then I would also think like maybe Kamala should go on Rogan's podcast too. And there could be this equal kind of thing. But no, quite the opposite. I just feel like it'll be awful.
To me, it also seems a little bit like, I'm kind of surprised that he's doing it, honestly. I know Rogan has a huge, incredible, massive audience, but I feel like that audience is mostly men.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've heard about polling numbers and stuff, Trump already kind of has the male vote.
Right.
At least the mostly white male vote, I believe, locked down. So how does that exposure really change anything?
I just think it's an opportunity for the both of them to sit across from each other and be like, I'm great. No, I'm great. No, let me tell you who's great. I'm great.
Echo chambery.
All I'm hearing about from everybody all over the says how blah, 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 blah.
Incredible impression.
That's my Donald Trump impression. You're welcome.
Put Nikki on SNL, everyone.
Yeah, you guys couldn't see her hands, but the hands are on par. No, I think my main comment about this is they're two reality stars who both have so much power now.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Like, this
They really
man,
do.
Joe Rogan, hosted Fear Factor, like scared my grandmother to death when my brother and I would watch Fear Factor.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, what is this devil show that you're
Yeah.
watching?
Made people eat bugs.
Made people eat bugs, dress poorly. Yes.
And like Donald Trump is,
He also had a TV show. Yeah.
you know, The Apprentice. Yes. And just like
You're fired.
a fixture, of the early 2000s. He's in Home Alone. He's in all those things. And it's really wild that these two guys who were so just two guys to me growing up, like I never thought twice about them,
Are so powerful.
are so powerful. Like I think it would be pretty smart for Kamala to get on Joe Rogan's podcast. He has a gigantic audience. Like, and that's crazy to me. Like, who is going to be in power 20 years from now that's like doing reality TV right now, you know?
That's it. What better example of how the ease of which white male mediocrity, you can go from like making people eat bugs with a terrible Julius Caesar haircut to being one of the most powerful voices in the country. Like it's like, babe, your rise to fandom must have been so difficult for you. Anyways, so
Yeah.
Trump is going to be in town, like it or not. I think there is something cool about a former president coming to town. That is just cool.
Yeah.
Traffic is going to be terrible. Please be mindful of it. But you know what you can do if you don't want to be bothered?
Oh.
You can participate in our Don't Go Gently into the weekend tip.
Oh my God. That just extended my life by like 5 years at least.
If you don't want to be bothered, here's your Takova's Don't Go Gently moment of the week. This week's Don't Go Gently tip for the weekend requires a short road trip, but we promise it's worth it. Head north of Austin to Round Rock's Diwali Festival on Saturday from 2 to 10 p.m. Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights, marks the triumph of light over darkness, or good over evil. How appropriate. Round Rock's free celebration at Centennial Plaza will feature lights, of course, as well as delicious food, fabulous music, cultural dancing, a sand art display, and a fashion show. There'll be activities for children and Bollywood dance lessons, as well as local vendors and henna tattoos. So remember, don't go gently, go into Takovas. Thank y'all so much for rounding up the news with me this week.
TTYL, Nikki.
Bye.
All right, bye, Kelsey. Bye, Eva Ruth. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. Our executive producer is Eva Ruth Moravec. Our producer is Rishi Bajeko. And I'm your host, Nikki Devon. Our Hey Austin newsletter editor is Kelsey Bradshaw. Music is by Nelson Valente Aguilar of Como Las Movies. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.